Hi, this is Susan from Susan B. Cards. I want to show you some different ways of using the BetterPress press plate. I'm going to use the Peony background press plate with hot foil. I found that you can use printed paper. This one is by Paper Rose and it's called Rainbow Twirl D. It's a real pretty set of papers, and there are some that look like tie-dye. I thought maybe that would be a good one to try, so I cut this down to A2 size. I'm going to use this black foil because I thought it would give an outline, and I'm just going to place it on there. I'm going to place this down. Probably should have cut down my foil a bit more so I could see exactly where it's going to be. I could always cut down the panel later. So I'm going to let that heat up, and then I'm going to run it through my Big Shot, and I'll be back to show you what it looks like. So I ran it through my Big Shot, and I'm going to show you what it looks like. I think with this black foil, it came out great. It looks really, really pretty. I did try it with gold foil, and it could be that the lines were just too thin to really show up. It's pretty, but in this area where the color is light, it looks a little bit faded. And you can see the difference between the two. And even though this one has light areas, that black foil really shows up nicely on here. I have found that this paper works great with the foil, and I think it has something to do with how smooth it is. You know, it's a little bit coated, and I know any kind of really smooth paper works great. The shiny, no, it's called glossy cardstock works great. Acetate, but I did want to show how great this looks. So I'm going to try a couple other things with this foil. When I looked at what was left over, I thought this was really pretty, and I thought maybe I could try to use my foiling plate that is just blank, and unfortunately I foiled on top of it because I placed the image the wrong way the first time I used it. But I decided to try this, and what you do is you heat up the plate as you normally do, and then you put the foil pretty side down. You gotta remember to do that, pretty side down, instead of what seems to make sense to most people. But this is what you call the sticky side, I guess, that will stick. And then I'm using this heat-resistant acetate. This is from Simon Says Stamp, and I'll link that also in my description. So I'm going to try this. I don't know how it's going to come out. Might have to trim that down a little bit because it clung right on there. All right, so I'm going to heat this up some more. You have to heat it up extra long, but I'm going to heat it up and then I'll run it through and I'll show you the results. So here's the reveal. Let's hope it all sticks on. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. So we'll see how this one works. I can see a little bit is coming off, but maybe not enough to be noticeable. You can see some still stuck onto the paper here. Wow, I think that came out pretty nice. I'm kind of shocked. So what I was thinking is this would be great to kind of float above a piece of cardstock. You can use ink blended paper also. I just have this little scrap. It's not even going to fully fit, but something like this. This could even be your own ink blending or this paper. It doesn't matter because now that it's on this acetate, it looks really good. I'm going to try the gold foil again. This time I'm using shiny gold with the same plate. And I'm going to use this Paper Rose Studio paper. It's a different pack. I think it's called Urban Tapestry, but again, I'll link that in the description. And I'm going to try this, see how it comes out. This background is much darker. So in my mind, it's going to show up a little bit better than the pastel one. So again, I'll show you the result. I ran it through, so let's see what it looks like. Maybe the background is too dark now on this one, because it looks good right here, and I'm not so crazy about it down here. Okay. So after taking a look at these, I think that the black works out the best. I think it shows the detail the best. I wanted just to take a minute to show the cards that I made using the Spellbinders BetterPress Cosmos Backdrop Press Plate. This one is different from the press plate that I use called Peony Background. This press plate has a lot of black areas, and since the whole background is inked up, and then you have the outlines of the flowers. This one is kind of the opposite because it's basically an outline. So there's no color in the background, it's just the flowers, and these are cosmos. So you get two different effects from what I was doing. I showed this one card that I didn't really like because you couldn't really see anything, but this is the same paper, but the cosmos is just an outline, so you get a lot of the background from the paper, and this one you don't. You just see a few areas. So even though I wasn't crazy about this, the process itself is really good. You just have to take into account what your press plate looks like. If there's a lot of filled in areas or just outlines like this one, because these cards came out really nice using that same paper. I think it's called Urban Tapestry, but again, it's going to be linked, and it comes with these affirmations that I just cut out and popped up with some fun foam, and then I put these die cuts down. These are Spellbinders too. You can find all these papers on the Spellbinders website, and they're probably available at other places too. A lot of people are using the BetterPress plates with foiling, but I also wanted to take the time to use it with the BetterPress system itself. So I'm going to ink this paper using some Distress Oxide colors in Spun Sugar, Dried Marigold, Scattered Straw, Saltwater Taffy, and Kitsch Flamingo. And I'm just going to put down areas of color, blending it in. But with this press, because it has so much blackout area, it's going to end up doing the blackout technique. So you don't really have to worry where you're putting the color, since all this background area will be blacked out with the ink anyway. So this is pretty basic, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time showing you how to do this. Once you see what I'm doing, I'm going to just speed it up or cut out part of it and just show you the result. I did want to say that the paper I'm using is Nina Classic Crest Solar White paper that I get from 12 by 12 cardstock. It's an online store that sells all different kinds of 12 by 12 size papers. And I like this, I like to buy it in the 12 by 12 because I have a bigger area, and I cut the pieces a little bit bigger than A2. I don't have to worry. So when I'm using the press plate, if I accidentally put the paper down and I don't get the whole thing, or with foiling also, if I don't properly align the image, I can just cut around and have a straight image. I think you get the idea of what I'm doing, so I'm going to just stop the videotaping here because I don't want to waste a whole bunch of time showing you something that's very random. Okay, now I have my plate down and my BetterPress ink. And I think everybody remembers you kind of have to cover the whole thing, but kind of twist it at the same time. This one's going to take a lot of ink because it's a big plate. I just love how this locks right onto the plate. And I'm going to go run this in the machine and I'll be right back. So here are the 3 panels that I made. This is the first one in the lightest colors of pastels. It's a little bit washed out. It doesn't look bad, but the colors I think are too similar. This is a second card that I made using brighter colors, and I think this one came out the best. And the third card I used cool colors, and although it was really pretty when I blended all the colors, I think that the blue and the purple look a little muddy here, a little bit dingy, and you can't really see the lines of the flowers as well as you can. So I like this one the best, but I'm sure I could use all of these. For this card, I used solar paste on black mixed media paper. I got this from Scrapbookcom. It's extremely heavyweight. It is 400 GSM, and I think they said it was 130 pounds. I can't remember offhand, but it's pretty thick. And I put the solar paste on with a blending tool and a flat foam blender. These are from Ranger. And I just put some solar paste on here and blend it into the paper and let that completely dry. And then I used the BetterPress ink and this plate and pressed it into the paste. And you have to remember to do that when it's completely dry, or you'll get paste onto your plate. But if you wait for it to dry, you don't have to worry at all. I didn't get any of the paste into the plate. I also use a very thin coat of this paste. And it doesn't take that long to dry. So I'll show you how I did that. I've done this before using, I think, embossing folders. But I'll just use a couple colors, I'm not even sure how this is going to come out. So I'll show you my process. This one is called Prom Queen. And I'll use, these I just bought. This one's called Shooting Star, which is yellow, and Roar, which is orange. I'm going to start with a yellow, just because I always like to start with the lightest color. I don't put a ton on because I just want it to dry quickly. I also don't want it to be super thick. So this is fairly thin. Just trying to smooth out any kind of blotchy areas. But even if it's a little bit of the swirls in here, that's okay. You could also kind of smooth it out this way if you don't want the swirls. Rather than using a sponge dauber for every single color, I just wipe off most of it if I'm going to be using more than one color. We'll see what that looks like. I'll let it dry. So I let it dry and I ran it through the Big Shot with the press plate and Archival ink. I just use this because I have a big pad, and since this is a full size plate, it was just a little bit easier to use a big pad. But I did hear that they're going to be coming out with a large pad with the BetterPress ink. So I will probably get that just to keep my Archival ink separate from my BetterPress black ink. So this is how it turned out, and there are a couple things that I was thinking about that I didn't really care for. I didn't care for such a huge difference in color. It's just too bright here, and then it's more subdued here. Where the pink goes into the yellow, it turned it orange here, which I like. And I think that's more of a natural blend. So I'm thinking about doing something different. The other thing I didn't like were these strips. I don't think I'd like it to be such, so well thought out, you know. I want it to be a little more random. That's what I did with this. I did use two colors. I can't really remember. I think it was like the pink and the orange colors of the solar paste on black. When you use solar paste on black, the color comes out a little bit brighter. And then when I put down the black ink, it kind of brought everything back down. This is really pretty, I think, because of the large areas of black and the black outlines of the flower. And I think it works really well with brights. But one thing I was thinking was maybe doing more random areas of color, mixing it up a little bit. And the one thing that I do want to say is that when you use the BetterPress plate, I was taking, I'll show you on my plate. When I was inking it up, I was kind of dragging it just to be able to get all the areas of the plate well inked. And I'm not sure, but I think that I'm starting to make my pad pill. So when I looked on it, I noticed that there were little, when I looked at this panel, I could see that there's some black dots here. And when I looked at my pad, I noticed that there were pieces of either the paper towel that I used to wipe the plate clean that had pilled and stuck to my pad, or that this pad is starting to pill. So on one of the videos I watched, I can't remember whose it was, but they said go ahead and press it and turn it, but don't drag it. And I do tend to drag my pad when I do embossing folders. I drag my pad over to ink it. Just be sure you're not, you know, cutting up your pad, making it pill. So here's one I made. You can see that the color variation is kind of nice here, where I kind of went over the yellow and the orange and blended them a bit, but then left some darker areas. So you can see those areas on here. That kind of looks good. I don't really like this corner here where I didn't do very much blending or any blending. Started to blend down here, but it's just too stark. Down here in this corner, it's not as bad. I seem to have blended it a little bit better. You could see some of the orange and the pink, but here I just left it. I probably should have, you know, taken a little bit of yellow or the orange, kind of just lightly worked it in there, and it wouldn't be so stark. But I think this one came out better than this one did. The other thing that I did want to mention is the ink pad. I re-inked it, and when I put the ink pad onto the press plate this time, I just kind of pressed it back and forth. You can kind of see where the ink was going, where you needed more and needed to press it a little bit harder. But this time I didn't rub it onto the plate, and I didn't see any pilling. But this did come out better. I don't see any of those little blotches like I had here and here. So here's the cards that I made. Some of them I made into cards, and some of them are just waiting to be mounted. I put some sentiments on some of them, and some of them I left blank. I like to do that because later I can decide what I want to do with them. This one is mixed media with the lunar paste. This is the first lunar paste that I did on mixed media paper. This is solar paste on black paper. This is lunar paste. This one is black foil on glossy cardstock. This one I really like. I actually cut out the Mother's Day, Happy Mother's Day sentiment. And this is foil cardstock and black foil. So this is like an aluminum colored cardstock. This one, I use that same aluminum cardstock, and I tried to use ink on it, and it didn't come out great. I think I might be able to get a better result now that I've inked up my ink pad, so I could try that again. I mean, it's okay, but you can see that some of the areas didn't have enough ink. This one is printed cardstock that I use black foil on, and this is the printed cardstock that I used gold shiny foil on. And here are the panels that I inked myself. This one is Distress Oxide ink and black Archival. This one is Distress Oxide also, black Archival. Same thing with this one. The colors look a little bit muddier here. This one was my favorite. That's why I made it into a card first. I think the brighter colors came out better. And then this one is just pigment ink in light, medium, dark inks that I put on the press plate and then just ran through. So that's all that is. And this is on the cotton cardstock. And then this one is the acetate that I reverse foiled. It was foiled, and then I took the leftover and I did it on acetate, and then I put some foam, just black foam, that I cut out small pieces here and there just to pop up this panel, and then I foiled the sentiment and die cut it. And those are all my cards. There's even more. I'll show you this one. I think I showed this before. This is also the printed cardstock, and then the other plate. I haven't done much with this one yet. And then I have a couple more sentiments that I could put on the cards. So that's it for today. I hope you found something helpful. If you did, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. My blog is susanbcards.blogspot.com, and I will post pictures of all these cards on there as well. Link below the video are all the supplies that I use with affiliate links, and using those links help me out quite a bit, and using them are at no additional cost to you. And they'll also be linked on my blog as well. So thank you so much, and I will see you next time.